A snowy countryside during Christmas Eve. The story revolves around a young woman, Claire, who returns to her childhood home for the first time in years. The house is a large, old Victorian mansion surrounded by a forest. Her parents recently passed away, leaving the house abandoned, and she plans to sell it after the holidays. Claire arrives at the mansion late in the evening, battling heavy snowfall. She feels uneasy as she unlocks the creaky door. The air inside is cold, the furniture is draped in white sheets, and the only sound is the howling wind outside. She notices the old family Christmas tree still stands in the corner of the parlor, its decorations faded with time. As she explores the house, she's flooded with bittersweet memories of her childhood Christmases. She recalls her parents' odd warning, never look out the windows at night during Christmas Eve. It was a strange rule they never explained. Feeling nostalgic, she decides to spend the night before cleaning up and leaving in the morning. As Claire prepares dinner, the lights flicker briefly. She shrugs it off, blaming the old wiring. After dinner, she hears what sounds like faint footsteps crunching in the snow outside. When she peeks through the curtains, she sees nothing but the dark expanse of the snow-covered yard. Settling in for the night, she finds an old music box in a drawer. It plays the melody of Silent Night. Though slightly off-key, the tune brings her comfort. She places it on her bedside table before turning out the lights. Claire awakens in the middle of the night to the sound of faint humming. It's the same melody from the music box. Groggily, she reaches for the box, but it's not playing. The sound seems to come from outside her window. Remembering her parents' warning, she freezes, resisting the urge to look outside. The humming stops, replaced by a tapping sound on the window. Her heart pounds as she lies perfectly still, staring at the ceiling. The tapping grows more insistent. Mustering her courage, Claire slowly turns her head toward the window, but the curtains are drawn. She whispers to herself, "It's just the wind," and convinces herself to go back to sleep. But as she closes her eyes, she hears the faint creak of the floorboards outside her bedroom. Terrified, Claire grabs her phone and turns on its flashlight. She tiptoes to the door, holding her breath as she opens it. The hallway is empty, but a cold draft rushes past her, carrying the faint scent of pine and something metallic. She notices the attic door at the end of the hall is slightly ajar. With shaking hands, she ascends the attic stairs. The space is cluttered with old boxes and forgotten decorations. In the center of the room stands a tall figure, its back turned to her. The figure is dressed in tattered, dark clothing, and its long, bony arms hang unnaturally at its sides. Claire gasps, but the figure doesn't move. Gathering her courage, she whispers, "Who are you?" The figure slowly turns, revealing a pale, featureless face. Its hollow eyes drip black tears, and its mouth stretches into an impossibly wide grin. Claire stumbles backward as the figure raises a hand, pointing toward her. Its mouth opens, emitting the same off-key melody of Silent Night. Paralyzed with fear, she suddenly remembers her parents' warning and bolts down the stairs, the creature's footsteps thudding behind her. As she reaches the living room, she notices something horrifying. The Christmas tree is now fully decorated, glowing with dim, flickering lights. Beneath it are old, blood-stained gifts with her name scrawled across the wrapping paper. A sense of dread washes over her as she realizes this isn't the first time she's encountered the creature. Memories flood back, her parents shielding her as a child, covering the windows with blankets and singing loudly to drown out the tapping. This creature had been watching her every Christmas Eve, waiting for her to return. Claire grabs the music box and hurls it at the creature, momentarily stunning it. She sprints out into the snowstorm, leaving the house behind. As she reaches her car, she glances back to see the figure standing in the doorway, its hollow eyes glowing in the darkness. Claire drives away, tears streaming down her face, vowing never to return. She checks her rearview mirror and sees nothing but the snowy road. However, as the car radio crackles to life, the distorted melody of Silent Night plays softly. The story ends with Claire gripping the wheel tightly, her breath fogging up the glass as faint whispers echo from the back seat. A quiet suburban neighborhood on Christmas Eve. The story follows Eric, a single father, and his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. They've just moved into an old house to start fresh after a tough year. The house has a reputation for being odd, but Eric chalks it up to small-town gossip. Eric and Lily are decorating their modest Christmas tree in their living room. Snow is falling outside, and Lily is excited for Santa's visit. Eric, struggling financially, feels guilty that he couldn't buy her more gifts, but she reassures him, "It's okay, Daddy. All I want is for Santa to come." As Lily hangs ornaments, she asks Eric about the strange Santa she saw the night before in her room. Eric assumes she's just dreaming. "Santa doesn't come until Christmas Eve," he says with a laugh. Lily insists she saw someone, a tall man in red, standing at the foot of her bed. He wasn't carrying presents. Instead, he was staring at her with a big, toothy grin. Eric brushes it off, but the unease lingers. After tucking Lily into bed, Eric sits by the fireplace, sipping hot cocoa. The house creaks and groans in the cold, but one sound stands out, a heavy thud coming from upstairs. He heads to Lily's room to check on her, but finds her fast asleep. Returning to the living room, Eric notices something odd. One of the stockings above the fireplace is missing. Confused, he searches the room but can't find it. He assumes Lily moved it and decides to let it go. As he heads to bed, he catches a glimpse of something outside, a tall, shadowy figure in the yard. Thinking it's a prankster, he grabs a flashlight and steps onto the porch, but the figure is gone. The snow is undisturbed. Chilled, Eric locks the doors and windows before heading to bed. Eric wakes up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps on the roof, followed by a heavy thump in the living room. Heart racing, he grabs a bat and creeps downstairs. The Christmas tree lights are flickering, and the missing stocking is now hanging on the fireplace, but it's filled with something heavy. Eric cautiously pulls it down and empties it onto the floor. Inside are strange items, an old rusty bell, a cracked porcelain doll, and a note written in crimson ink. The note reads, "He comes for the ones who are forgotten." Suddenly, the fireplace roars to life, flames licking the air despite no logs being inside. Eric turns to see Lily standing in the doorway, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, is Santa here?" she asks. Before he can respond, the tree lights flicker and go out, plunging the room into darkness. Eric grabs Lily and tells her to stay close. As they search the house, the air feels colder and the shadows in the corners seem to shift. As they pass by the front door, Eric notices deep claw marks gouged into the wood. Lily tugs on his arm, pointing to the window. "Daddy, he's out there!" Eric looks and sees the tall figure again, standing under the street lamp. This time, it's clearer. The figure is dressed in a tattered red suit, its long arms ending in sharp, clawed fingers. Its face is obscured, but its wide, unnatural grin gleams in the darkness. Eric pulls Lily away from the window and locks them both in the bedroom. He tries calling the police, but his phone won't connect. The sound of heavy footsteps begins echoing through the house, accompanied by faint jingling bells. The jingling grows louder, and Eric realizes it's coming closer. Suddenly, the bedroom door bursts open, but no one is there. Instead, the hallway is filled with the scent of smoke and pine. At the far end, the figure steps into view, its grin impossibly wide and its eyes glowing faintly red. "Lily! Under the bed!" Eric shouts, grabbing his bat. The creature begins moving, not walking, but gliding down the hallway toward them. It doesn't speak, but a low, guttural growl fills the air. Eric swings the bat as it reaches the doorway, but the creature is faster. It slashes the bat in half with its claws and corners Eric against the wall. "You forgot me," it growls in a deep, echoing voice. "But I never forget." Lily screams from under the bed, and the creature turns its attention toward her. Desperate, Eric grabs the rusty bell from the stocking, remembering the note. He rings it, and the creature recoils, letting out an ear-piercing shriek. It retreats into the shadows, vanishing as the sound of jingling fades into the night. Eric and Lily stay awake until dawn, too terrified to sleep. When the sun rises, they find the house eerily calm. The claw marks on the door are gone, and the stocking is back to normal. Eric discovers another note on the fireplace. He'll be back next year. As the snow falls outside, Eric resolves to keep Lily safe, but the fear lingers. In the distance, faint, jingling bells echo through the winter air. A quiet, Snowy Christmas Eve in a small countryside home. The protagonist, Sarah, is spending the evening alone after her plans to visit family are canceled due to the storm. Sarah is sitting by the fireplace, sipping hot cocoa and listening to Christmas music. The snowstorm outside is fierce and the power occasionally flickers. She feels lonely but tries to enjoy the peaceful eve. Suddenly, there's a knock at the door. It's unusual since her home is far from the main road and no one should be out in this weather. Hesitant, she grabs a flashlight and goes to check. Through the peephole, she sees a man standing on her porch, shivering and looking desperate. The man claims his car broke down in the snow and he's looking for help. Sarah is unsure about letting him in, but feels guilty leaving him out in the cold. She finally opens the door and invites him inside. The man thanks her and introduces himself as Tom. He's friendly at first, but something about him feels off. His clothes are too clean for someone who's been stranded, and he keeps glancing around the house like he's looking for something. While they talk, Sarah notices his story keeps changing. First, he says he was driving to visit family, but later he claims he was just passing through town. She starts to feel uneasy. As the night goes on, Tom becomes more curious about Sarah's life. He asks strange questions. Do you live alone? Is there anyone nearby? When she lies and says her husband will be home soon, he gives her a strange smile and says, "Oh, I see." Sarah decides to call for help, but when she picks up her phone, there's no signal because of the storm. She offers to call someone for him in the morning, but he insists he needs to leave now. Tom asks to use the bathroom before heading out. Sarah watches him go down the hall, but hears creaking noises upstairs moments later. Her heart pounds as she realizes he isn't in the bathroom. He's wandering around her house. Panicking, Sarah grabs a knife from the kitchen and starts moving through the house. She finds the front door unlocked, even though she knows she locked it earlier. When she checks upstairs, her bedroom window is wide open, snow blowing in. Suddenly, the power goes out, plunging the house into darkness. Sarah hears footsteps behind her and spins around, but no one is there. Then, from the living room, she hears Tom's voice. "You shouldn't have let me in." She tries to run, but Tom blocks her path, holding something shiny in his hand. "You've been very kind," he says with a twisted grin, "but I wasn't stranded. I came here for you." Sarah fights back, using the knife to slash at him and create enough space to escape. She locks herself in the basement and finds an old emergency phone. She dials 911 and whispers for help while listening to Tom searching for her upstairs. Police arrive just as Tom is about to break into the basement. He tries to flee but is caught. The officers tell Sarah she's lucky. Tom is a wanted criminal who's been targeting isolated homes during the holidays. As the police take Tom away, Sarah sits in shock. She stares out the window at the snowstorm, thinking about how easily the night could have ended differently. When the officer asks if she's okay, she simply replies, "I'll never answer the door again."